He was the former CEO of Sea Change International and Executive Vice President of Sony Con. He is an American digital media innovator who has pioneered advancements in music and video distribution. He is the author of the best-selling book, Disrupt You, Master Personal Information. He is an active philanthropist appointed by the White House under President Bill Clinton to help gain internet access for American schools. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us introduce to you Mr. J. Samit.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm here to give you a different kind of talk today. Digital currency goes up in value when there's a strong digital economy. So the question is, what is our economy going to be globally over the next few months and years? So the goal here is to really talk about disruption. Our business world is changing faster than most of you realize. There used to be a time where people worked for 40 years to get that gold watch. Today's best-selling watch doesn't even work for 24 hours. So what is different? What are we doing? Why do we live in a time where 100-year-old companies disappear, and yet every month there's a new self-made billionaire in their 20s or 30s? Those self-made billionaires have the same 24 hours in a day that you and I do. But here's what's also happening. Half of all the office jobs globally will disappear over the next 10 years. 3D printing will wipe out 300 million manufacturing jobs. And self-driving cars and trucks will get rid of millions and millions and more. So what's different about today's businesses? The world's biggest hotel chain owns no hotels. The world's biggest taxi company owns no cars. And the world's biggest media company creates no media. And lastly, the world's biggest retailer, Alibaba, has no inventory. What they're all doing is leveraging big data. And big data is what's going to drive your business and the future. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about how you can change your life and 5 steps to becoming a disruptor. Think about it. In the last 90 days, Pokemon Go did $470 million. Any of you could have launched that. It could take a cryptocurrency. This is why this is so important to the future of OneCoin and what you're about. In 2 seconds about me, I've spent the past 3 decades disrupting different industries, and I've had the pleasure to work with and be partnered with some of the most influential and forward-seeking people on the planet. And what I've learned from that is that things are changing so fast that unless you pay attention, it could cost you your career. So what is changing? So there are 3 things to focus on. Digital currency. See if I can go backwards. There we go. 3D printing, and for fun, we're going to talk about the electric drill. So, the first step to changing the world is to get outside of your comfort zone. And all of you have already done that by experiencing a new type of business, coming here today, and trying to learn what's changing and how. Business as usual is dead. Half of all the jobs that presently exist in the U.S. will disappear. It's just like when we went from farming to industry. Today, it takes 1.6% of the U.S. population to feed the rest and export. The same automation is going to happen to big businesses and small. So where are the opportunities? Many people thought it was with big companies. But as you can see, of the Fortune 500 companies, only 57 are left. So what companies are going to disappear? And the ones that stay will not be making the same products that they did just 5 years ago. Think about it. Apple, the largest company in the world, was a failed computer company. They went into phones. They're going into cars. What are they seeing that's different? Who's next? Where are the opportunities to flourish where cryptocurrency will grow the most and be the most valuable? So the first thing to look at is the world around us is dematerializing. Physical items are disappearing. The supply chain that makes physical items is being replaced. Think about your desk. You turn down the sound. No music. So your desk used to have all these items that were manufactured in a factory, shipped on a boat, into a truck, stocked at retail, and slowly, and now faster, every single item has been replaced by an app. We are living in a post-physical world. The majority of all purchases are done for digital goods. The majority of all income goes to digital goods. That's the opportunity for a digital currency. Apps are replacing unskilled labor. So where will the greatest disruption happen? There's 10 places that are really affected. One is how we communicate with our environment, the Internet of Things, how our home will make our life better, and we will all talk. 3D printing, cloud, solar storage, all of these, but I'm just going to focus on a couple opportunities, a couple $1 trillion opportunities. That's today's Tesla factory. There's no people working in it. It's all robots. So business is changing exponentially, but most people and the way they're approaching business isn't. So when we start going to self-driving cars, millions of transportation jobs will vanish. Today there are 18-wheeler trucks going across Germany with no drivers. But at the same time, we have 9 billion people connected by mobile. Now, there's not 9 billion people. You now have devices connected. You now have an Internet of Things where your home will connect. Those are opportunities for commerce. You can reach 6 billion people with one press of a button. That's 6 billion customers. You only have to be right for a nanosecond to become a billionaire or change the world. So, if you were Tony Stark, if you were Iron Man, what would you do right now to change the world and make $1 billion? Let me give you one example from 3D printing. 3D printing can print anything, from plastic to metal to human organs. But imagine you had a child that was born without fingers. Imagine their life. They wouldn't get a prosthetic arm until they were much older because of the high cost. But now they can print a 3D one very cheaply and get it every 6 months. But the business opportunity was to take it further and to license from Disney Iron Man, Frozen, Star Wars. Now that child who thought he or she was less than can be more than and can be more popular. You will see more and more custom designed products created locally that will all be tied to digital currency. That's the opportunity. If you don't know what that's a picture of, that's how we get our chicken in the United States. It's factory farmed. Now you're going to see a new generation of 3D printed meat. You can make halal pork or kosher bacon. You can actually make burgers that bleed, that have no animal attached to them. You can 3D print human organs. This year we had the first 3D printed nose for a transplant. 3D printed kidneys, it goes on and on. So all of these are new opportunities. There's now large 3D printers that can build buildings after a typhoon or a hurricane or an earthquake with no skilled labor. But more data, more connectivity, more digital currency requires much more creativity of how to find your market, your niche, because you not only can reach everywhere, but you're going to be competing with people from everywhere. It's a new era of commerce that has never existed. But let me take a second to talk about the electric drill, just to see if anybody can understand me. Raise a hand if you own a drill. Okay, thanks for playing along. In your lifetime, you're only going to drill for 13 minutes. It makes no sense to own it. If a drone could deliver it or a truck in the morning, you put together your IKEA bookcase, and then they pick it up. So you could share it. The sharing economy is right now $29 billion opportunity. It is so big that General Motors is going out of selling cars and into sharing cars. By 2030, 1/4 of all miles driven by all cars globally will be by Uber. That's big data, and it's only getting bigger and faster and stronger. Your home and what you own can now be tied to big data. You can rent out part of your home for Airbnb or for storage. You can rent your car out, your lawnmower, whatever the device may be. Everything can be networked and shared from the local to the national to the international. Huge opportunities to take what you're learning in digital currency and apply it to connecting and growing a marketplace. In the US, 2 college girls started a billion-dollar company called Rent the Runway, where instead of buying designer dresses, they can just have one shipped, wear it to one party, and wear a different dress each and every time. So, as we start networking data, we can network opportunity. So to recap, here's the 5 things you can do to change your life starting today. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. Most people put limits on their careers and their lives. In all the studying of talking to billionaires that's in the book Disrupt You, what most of them have in common is they accepted the fact that you have no limits. You can be as successful as you choose to be. No one is holding you back. The opportunities are before you. It's up to you to take them. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing themselves. It begins with introspection. So if you can start overcoming what your fears, what's holding you back, that's when disruption begins and new opportunities appear in front of you. The easiest way to do it is to start each day saying 2 things. 1, the future can be better, tomorrow can be better than today, and I have the power to make it so. Each of you have the power to not just change your lives and your family's lives, but to change the world. Because the only people that ever did change the world were those that decided to do it. Once you start realizing that the problems in your life are actually opportunities in disguise, every obstacle that you solve, you could solve for others. The more people you solve for, the richer you become. So solve for others to solve for you. And that's at the heart of what I believe you're doing with One Life. So the only way you're going to be successful is if you start each day with that positive mindset. Think about that person you used to work with. that's in that funk and negative and always sees problems, if you waved an opportunity in front of them, they wouldn't see it. But if you start looking at every problem as, wow, I'm glad I have a problem because if I solve it, I can solve it for the world. And there's nothing in your way that is so big that you can't overcome it. That's how you change the world. Lastly, you must commit to lifelong learning. You wouldn't go to a doctor my age who hadn't learned anything since med school. No one will work in a career that isn't constantly evolving. Read, learn, grow. Understand how the landscape is changing and be the first one to seize the new opportunity. That's why I wrote Disrupt You. You can follow me for the latest news on Twitter. I hope this was valuable to you, and I look forward to watching you all become successful. Thank you. I'm Jay Samit.